Chapter 9. Burned Bridges, Broken Hearts. That night, Rachel refused to leave Juan's room without getting what she wanted. She wrapped her arms around him, kissed him with desperate hunger, and begged. "Juan, I know you're pushing me away," she whispered, her lips brushing his neck. "But please, just one last time, for closure. I need this. We both do." Juan hesitated. He had already told her earlier that evening, firmly, that whatever they had was over. "Rachel," he said, trying to keep his voice calm. "I told you from the beginning, we were just hooking up. You agreed. There was never going to be anything more than that between us. I didn't mislead you." Rachel's eyes welled with tears. "But I fell in love with you, Juan," she whispered, her voice breaking. "How can you not see that? Am I not pretty enough? What does she have that I don't?" He sighed, torn between guilt, emotional fatigue, and the firestorm inside him caused by Desiree's silence, her coldness, her rejection. He didn't want Rachel, but he needed something, anything, to make the ache stop. And so, he gave in. They had sex that night. But for Juan, his mind wasn't with Rachel, not even for a moment. Every thrust, every breath, every heated whisper, he imagined Desiree. It was her lips, her scent, her skin he dreamed of. Rachel noticed. The way he touched her, it was different, softer, more intimate, more present than ever before. Rachel moaned louder than usual, lost in a fantasy she thought was real. To her, it felt like Juan had finally made love to her. But that illusion shattered for someone else. Desiree. Lying awake in her room, tormented by thoughts of Juan and Rachel, Desiree's suspicions turned into certainty. She could hear the moaning, Rachel's moaning, through the wall. Her heart cracked open. It wasn't just jealousy. It was betrayal. She got up, grabbed a chilled bottle of alcohol, poured herself a stiff drink with shaking hands, and swallowed it down like poison. Sleep finally came, but it was no comfort. The next morning, Juan woke to find Rachel already packing her things. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were red. "I'll leave," she said softly. "But I meant what I said last night. I can't let you go, Juan. I love you, and I'll wait. Even if it takes time, I won't give up." She kissed him on the cheek and left with quiet dignity. Minutes later, a text buzzed on his phone. "I remember everything we said, Juan. Last night was supposed to be closure, but I can't help myself. I love you too much. I'll do anything to be the one you love back." Juan sighed, his heart heavy. But that wasn't the only weight on his chest. Downstairs, Desiree was already awake, hungover, groggy, and raw with pain. She had called in sick at all 3 of her businesses for the first time ever. She barely remembered what time she fell asleep. All she knew was that she felt broken, angry, ashamed, and furious at herself for falling for someone who could hurt her this deeply. She told herself it was over. No more Juan, no more games, no more heartbreak. After a long bath, she descended to the kitchen for something, anything, to stabilize her mood. Juan was there. "Hey," he said, surprised. "I thought you'd already left for work." Desiree didn't look at him. "Not today." He followed her into the kitchen. "Desiree, can we talk, please?" "About what?" she asked flatly. "About us." "There is no us." Juan took a step closer, gently reaching for her. "You can't deny how we feel. I love you, Desiree. Please, give us a chance." She turned to him sharply. Her palm landed across his cheek with a loud smack. "Don't you dare say that!" she hissed. "You lying bastard!" Juan froze, stunned. "You're just like your father," she spat. sleeping with women like a dog, chasing anything in a skirt. I hate you for making me believe you were different. You knew how much I hated that life, and you made me fall for you. You disgust me." His eyes darkened with hurt. "Don't say that." "I heard her, Juan. I heard Rachel moaning last night, while I was in this house, while I was trying to forget about you. And now you want to stand here and say you love me?" He stepped back, visibly shaken. "Desiree, I won't lie to you. Yes, we had sex, but it meant nothing to me. You need to understand. For me, there's a difference between sex and making love." She scoffed, furious. Juan pressed on, desperate. "I didn't lie when I said I love you. I meant it. I still do. I've never stopped loving you. Maybe you're just playing with me. Maybe I'm the one being used. Maybe you're just trying to forget Mr. Pablo. But me? When I'm with someone, I don't cheat. I'm not my father. I want one woman, you, Desiree." She stared at him, shocked, trying to process everything. The sex with Rachel, the talk of closure, the supposed emotional detachment, and now these declarations of love. Her mind spun. "Juan," she whispered, unsure whether to scream or cry. "You really think I'm supposed to accept that you thought of me while you were screwing her?" "Yes," he said honestly. "Because I did." She blinked at him, shook her head slowly, then turned and walked away without another word, heading straight to her room and slamming the door behind her. Juan stood alone in the kitchen, stunned. The woman he loved hated him, and this time she wasn't hiding it. Chapter 10. The calm before the chaos. Desiree needed to breathe. The walls of the house felt too tight, too hot, too filled with Juan's presence. Every step, every corner reminded her of what she felt for him and what he had done with Rachel. Her thoughts tangled in frustration, heartbreak, and the maddening realization that she wasn't just hurt. She was in love. That was the hardest part to accept. Without a word to Juan, she dressed. Fitted jeans, a plunging silk blouse, heels that kissed the pavement with confidence. She looked radiant, like a woman in control. But inside, she was drowning. She grabbed her keys and left, ignoring the way Juan stared at her from the hallway. He wanted to say something, but her body language screamed, "Don't." Juan watched the door close behind her, heart pounding with guilt, worry, and helplessness. He considered following her, but didn't want to make things worse. Yet every second she stayed gone, the knot in his stomach tightened. Desiree called her best friend, Anna, and asked her to meet at their favorite outdoor cafe, a hidden terrace filled with soft lights, jazz music, and just enough intimacy to spill secrets. Anna agreed immediately. An hour later, the two women were sipping iced tea and sharing a platter of tapas. Desiree vented everything about Rachel, about the moaning, about the slap, about the audacity of Juan calling it just sex. "I just don't get it, Anna. How could he think that would be okay? And then say he was thinking of me the whole time?" Anna listened, as always, with compassion and honesty. "Desiree, I can't tell you how to feel, but I've met guys like Juan. They see sex and love as different. He might genuinely think he didn't cheat emotionally." "That's crazy," Desiree muttered, staring at her drink. "I hate that it even hurts this much." Anna smiled gently. "You're in love with him. That's why it hurts." Desiree looked away, lips pressed together. "And you know it," Anna added. "I've never seen you this spun out, not even with Mr. Pablo." Desiree flinched at the mention of his name. Anna leaned in. So, what about him? Mr. Pablo? With a sigh, Desiree nodded. It's over. I'm just waiting for him to return from his trip. I'm going to end it, leave the house, everything. I can't keep pretending. Anna hesitated. You sure? Once that happens, you're not just ending something with a powerful man, you're walking into the fire. Because even if he's your ex, being with his son? I know, Desiree whispered. It's impossible. Not impossible, Anna said softly. Just hard. Very, very hard. They embraced before Anna had to leave early due to a family situation. Desiree stayed back, sipping a glass of wine alone on the terrace, letting the music fill the silence. And then he appeared. A tall, striking man had been eyeing her for some time from a nearby table. Confident, but respectful, he walked over and smiled. Mind if I sit? Desiree glanced at him, hesitated, then nodded. He introduced himself. Chris. They talked for nearly an hour. He was charming, attentive, and effortlessly engaging. Nothing forced, no flirting too heavy, just presence, listening. He made her laugh, and for the first time that day, Desiree felt a little less heavy. When the clock neared 11 p.m., she stood up. I should go. Chris smiled. Would it be too bold to ask for your number? Desiree paused. Then, surprising even herself, she gave it to him. Meanwhile, Juan was unraveling. He had called, texted, waited, and waited. By 9 p.m., he was pacing. By 10:30, he was driving around the neighborhood. But something inside him told him to let her be. Still, the silence was unbearable. Each message he sent stayed on, delivered. When she finally returned, at 11:17 p.m., Desiree walked past him without a glance. She didn't say a word. Her heels clicked against the marble floor, her perfume lingering as she disappeared into her room. Juan stood in the darkened living room, still as a statue. He had lost control, and he could feel the ground slipping beneath him.
Chapter 11. What We Can't Escape. The next morning, Desiree went to work early, barely speaking to Juan. But this time, when he texted her, she replied. Short, polite responses. Nothing like the flowing, emotional messages they used to share. Juan felt the chill in her tone, the distance growing between them like a slow-moving storm. That same day, Chris started texting her too. Desiree replied to him as well, more playfully, more freely. Not because she was in love, but because she needed a distraction, a way to feel wanted without all the chaos. At home, Desiree kept her distance from Juan. She cooked dinner, like she always did, and when Juan asked if they could at least sit down and eat together, she agreed. They ate mostly in silence. Juan tried to reach for her hand once. She didn't pull away, but she didn't hold on either. Inside her heart, Desiree was breaking. She couldn't stop loving Juan. Every glance, every word from him still affected her. But Anna's warning echoed in her mind. This won't be an easy road. Loving a man whose father you once belonged to. No one will ever understand that. She didn't even know if she could understand it. Meanwhile, Juan was struggling too, but in a different way. He had made up his mind. He didn't care what anyone thought. His father had been gone for nearly 8 months now, probably having fun with another woman in another city. Juan knew his dad didn't love Desiree the way he did. His father's women were like wine, consumed and forgotten. But Desiree was everything. He had never fallen this deeply before, and now that he had, he couldn't let her go. Not without a fight. but she was slipping from him, and he felt it. By midweek, Desiree had begun planning her escape from the house. She had found a small but cozy rental apartment across town. The lease was unsigned, but she was close. She'd already told Anna everything. Her plan to break up with Mr. Pablo once he returned. Her plan to start over. And maybe even give Chris a real chance. She didn't want to love Juan anymore, but she did. And that made everything worse. Friday night arrived. Desiree and Juan were both home. They hadn't spoken much all day, but as evening fell, she joined him for dinner and a movie in the living room. For a brief moment, they were just two people, leaning into each other on the couch. Her head rested lightly on his chest, his arm around her. It felt right until her phone started buzzing. Text after text. The vibration was relentless. Juan glanced at the screen. The messages were from someone saved only as Chris. The name alone twisted something sharp in his chest. Desiree didn't move, didn't check the phone. But Juan could feel her tensing. "You're not going to read that?" he asked quietly. She sat up slowly, distancing herself from his embrace. "I'll check it upstairs." Something about the way she said it, too casual, too evasive, set off alarms in Juan's head. His jaw clenched. "Desiree," he said, locking eyes with her. "Who is that?" She didn't answer, just walked upstairs. And in that silence, everything shifted. Upstairs, Desiree checked Chris's messages. He was asking if they could go out, just for a short while. Dinner? A walk? Maybe a drink? Nothing serious. "Back in 2 hours," he promised. After a moment of hesitation, Desiree typed, "Yes." Before she left, she texted Anna Chris's address and a picture, just in case. She didn't feel unsafe, but she also couldn't tell Juan the truth. She didn't want the drama. She was halfway down the stairs, dressed in a sleek black dress and soft curls falling around her shoulders, when the doorbell rang. Chris. Juan, curious, got up from the couch. Desiree hurried to the door, trying to intercept the moment, but it was too late. Chris had already stepped inside, smiling. "Hey," he said to her warmly, then turned to Juan. "Hi, I'm Chris." Desiree hesitated, flustered. "Juan, this is Chris, my friend. Chris, this is Juan, my fiancé's son." The words cut like glass. My fiancé's son. Juan's face went still, unreadable for a moment. Then his expression darkened. "Chris," he said coolly, "can you give us a minute?" Chris looked between them, confused but polite. "Sure, I'll wait in the car." Once he left, Juan turned to Desiree, his voice low and tight with emotion. "Are you serious right now? You're going out with him?" Desiree exhaled, frustrated. "Juan, I love you. I do. But this, you and me, it can't work." "Why not?" he asked, stepping closer. "Because of my dad." "You know why?" she snapped. "There's too much between us, too much around us." Juan's eyes pleaded. "But what about everything we've felt? Everything we've shared? Doesn't that count for something?" She looked at him, heartbreaking, and said softly, "It counts. It just doesn't change the world we're living in." And with that, she turned and walked out the door, leaving Juan behind, alone, again. Chapter 12. The night that changed everything. Desiree didn't return home until nearly 2 a.m. Chris had driven her back, parking just outside the gate. He wanted her to stay for the night, his hand resting gently on her thigh as he asked. Desiree smiled faintly, shook her head. "No, I need to go home." Earlier that evening, over candlelight and soft jazz playing in the background, Chris had leaned in and asked, "You never mentioned being in a relationship." Desiree hesitated, then gave a half-truth. I'm planning to end it soon. Why? He asked. She looked away, her eyes searching the shadows of the room. It's complicated. It's not working anymore. What she didn't say, what she couldn't say, was that her heart wasn't tangled up in that relationship. It was tangled up in someone else entirely. Someone she was trying to forget. Someone whose scent still lingered in her memory. Someone whose touch still haunted her body. Juan. Chris, charming and good-looking, felt like the right antidote, the clean slate, the rational option. Desiree needed a reason to stop loving Juan. And for a moment, Chris gave her that reason. He kissed her, soft and slow. She let him. His lips deepened the kiss, his hands drawing her closer. It started on the couch, but ended in the bedroom. They had sex, and still, her heart felt hollow. When Desiree walked into the house hours later, the lights were dimmed, and the TV was still on. Juan was on the couch, slouched and moody, half a bottle of whiskey beside him. His eyes met hers the moment she stepped through the door. Bloodshot, tired, hurt. He stood up slowly, his movements unsteady but purposeful. He walked over to her, his jaw clenched, his chest rising and falling. Did you sleep with him? He asked, barely above a whisper. Look me in the eye, and please, don't you dare lie to me. Desiree's eyes welled with tears. She said nothing, just stared back. That was enough. Juan's expression shattered, his voice cracked. Why are you doing this to me? A single tear escaped down his cheek. Desiree stepped forward, gently cupped his face, and kissed him. It wasn't planned. It wasn't rational. It was pure emotion. Raw, painful, desperate. He kissed her back, hard and deep. They made love. Right there on the couch at first, hands roaming, breaths heavy with longing and hurt. Then Juan lifted her into his arms and carried her upstairs, to his room, not hers. Her room still felt like his father's, and that made all the difference. In Juan's room, everything slowed down. They kissed like it was the first time, and the last. They talked in between movements, pausing to hold each other's gaze, to speak, to confess. Juan opened up in ways he never had before. He told her why he'd hated her at first, how he thought she was just another of his father's beautiful toys. He told her about his mother, the pain she went through when Pablo left her. He talked about Barbara, the only woman who had ever gotten close to his heart, and how she broke it, and how ever since, he only knew how to have sex, not feel it. But with you, he whispered, stroking her cheek, I feel everything. Desiree cried softly into his chest, then told him about her own life, how she met Pablo when she was still figuring herself out, how she mistook power for love, how over time she stopped seeing herself as someone worth choosing. Until Juan. They made love again, this time slower, deeper. They kissed through the tears. Their bodies moved like poetry, tangled in a rhythm that said more than words could. And in the silence afterward, as Juan held her against his chest, he whispered, Please, don't give up on us. I know the situation's insane. I know it's messy, but don't walk away. Don't give up on what we have. She looked up at him, searching his face. I don't want to. I really don't. Then don't, he said. Unless you don't love me anymore. I love you, she whispered. Very much. He smiled, relief breaking through the pain. Then end it with Chris. Desiree nodded. She knew she had to. Chris wasn't just competition. He was a distraction from what she truly wanted. The next morning, the energy in the house had shifted. There was warmth now, togetherness. Desiree and Juan took a bath together, laughing, washing each other's hair like they were already a couple. They made breakfast together, did laundry, went grocery shopping like they'd been doing it for years. And for the first time, Desiree invited Juan to come to work with her. He agreed. Mr. Pablo had entrusted her with 3 companies, and she needed help organizing the accounting. Juan had a sharp mind for numbers, and it felt right. Working side by side, sharing space, sharing time. It felt like the beginning of something real.
Chapter 13. A Day for Us. The next morning, Juan turned to Desiree with a soft smile and said, "Let's go out. Come with me." Desiree blinked, still wrapped in the comfort of the previous night. "Where?" she asked, a little groggy but curious. "Trust me," he said, brushing a hand down her arm. "Just come with me." She laughed, still in her casual clothes. "At least let me change into something decent. I can't go out like this." Juan gave her that signature smirk, the one that made her heart skip. "You look perfect, Babby love." "That's sweet, hun," she said, returning the smile. "But still, I want to look nice for you." She ran off to her room to get ready. When she returned, Juan gave her an approving nod. "You look incredible." Outside, he asked, "You driving, or should I?" "We're taking your car, but I'm driving," she replied with a grin. "I hate how you drive, Juan. It's horrible." "Who taught you anyway?" He burst into laughter. "I knew you'd say that. That's why I asked." Their laughter echoed down the street as they pulled away. Juan gave her directions, and after a few turns, they arrived at one of the largest shopping malls in the city. She looked at him, eyebrows raised. "What are we doing here?" "Don't ask too many questions," he said, stepping out of the car and opening her door. "Just trust me." Inside, they headed straight to the women's fashion section. Juan was just like his father in one way. When he loved generously. He picked out dresses for her, adding pieces to the pile that he thought would suit her perfectly. "I like this one," he said, holding up a midnight blue dress. "Add it. It'll look amazing on you." Desiree's heart melted, not because of the gifts. She already had more than enough from Alejandro. Designer clothes, shoes, jewelry. Her wardrobe overflowed with luxury. But this was different. These were from Juan, from his heart. It was the thought behind the gesture, the playful way he picked the outfits, the way he looked at her like she was the only woman in the world. At one point, Desiree wandered toward the jewelry section while Juan was looking at jackets. A tall, well-dressed man nearby caught sight of her. "I bet any of those would look stunning on you," he said, flashing a charming smile. Desiree turned, polite and amused. "Thanks," she replied, glancing back toward where Juan stood. The man stepped a little closer. "Is this beautiful lady shopping alone?" Before she could respond, Juan appeared, his presence commanding. "Can we help you with something?" he asked, cool but firm. The man caught the cue, smiled sheepishly, and walked away. Juan turned to her, raising an eyebrow. "Were you flirting with him?" She laughed softly. "Come on, Juan. He was just being nice. That was a compliment, not a crime." "Compliment?" he scoffed. "He was hitting on you, Desiree." She grinned, loving how adorably jealous he got. He wasn't controlling. He was just possessive in the sweetest way. Like she belonged to him, and he didn't want to share even a glance. She laced her fingers in his and whispered, "You're the only one I want." They headed to the counter, and Juan paid for everything. As they exited the mall, Juan got a call from his childhood friend, Ted. Ted and his girlfriend Emily were hanging out at their favorite weekend spot, and they wanted Juan to join them. Emily had also brought her best friend, Alexis. Juan looked at Desiree. "I want you to meet Ted. He's practically my brother. You in?" She smiled. "Okay, but can we go home so I can dress better?" He leaned in and kissed her lips. "Honey, you look perfect." She rolled her eyes playfully. "Fine, but you're driving. Just make sure we make it there alive." He laughed. "You're never going to let me live down my driving, huh?" On the drive, Desiree called her best friend, Anastasia. "Juan's meeting your friends?" Anna asked, teasing. "That's serious." "Come join us," Desiree said. "You have to meet him." Anna agreed, saying she'd only stay for a little while. At the lounge, Ted wrapped Juan in a big hug. "Bro, finally," he said, then turned to Desiree. "So this is the famous Desiree. He wasn't lying. You're stunning." She blushed. "Nice to meet you too." Ted led them to the table where Emily and Alexis were waiting. Juan greeted them warmly, while Ted went off to the bar to place their food and drink orders. The women bonded quickly. Emily was warm, Alexis was funny, and Anna soon joined the group, fitting right in. Laughter flowed, stories were shared, and the atmosphere was light and joyful. Juan, usually reserved, opened up when Ted was around. Desiree loved seeing that side of him. The carefree, joking, relaxed Juan, who teased and laughed freely. The night turned out better than she had imagined. Anna stayed longer than planned, having too much fun to leave early. Eventually, she said her goodbyes, and Juan and Desiree followed not long after. Juan hugged Ted. "Let's do this again soon." "Absolutely," Ted said. Heading back home, Desiree drove since she had barely touched her drink. They showered, changed into pajamas, and slipped into bed. There was no sex that night, just closeness, soft kisses, her head resting on his chest, his arms wrapped around her like a promise. She kissed his shoulder. "Thank you for today." He smiled, kissing her hair. "Thank you for saying yes." They lay in the quiet of the night, hearts full, bodies warm. That day hadn't just been about fun. It had been about them, growing together, laughing together, claiming each other in little quiet ways. And as they drifted off to sleep, Desiree knew deep in her soul, she didn't just love Juan, she belonged to him. Chapter 14. The Truth Comes Home. It had been nearly a year since Mr. Alejandro Pablo had left, a year of silence, a year of change. Then, without warning, Desiree received a short phone call. "I'll be home tomorrow," he said. The next morning, he arrived. Same tailored suit, same sharp cologne. But something about him looked older, like time had finally caught up to the man who once believed he could outrun it. Desiree had been waiting. She didn't wait for small talk. The moment they were alone in the kitchen, she spoke, calm, clear, resolved. "Alejandro, I want to end this." He froze. "Desiree, what are you talking about?" "I'm leaving. I've already packed most of my things. The rest I'll pick up later." He followed her through the hallway as she moved briskly, gathering the last of her belongings, his voice rising in disbelief and desperation. "Is this about someone else? Did something happen? We can fix it. We always could." "No," she replied softly. "A lot has happened, yes, but it's not just about someone else. It's about everything. I've changed, and you've always been who you are." Mr. Pablo tried to hold her hand. "Desiree, I want to change. I have changed. I realized I'm not young anymore. You're the one thing that ever made me want to slow down. I don't want to lose you." She looked at him with pain in her eyes. "I already left, Alejandro. In my heart, I left a long time ago." He was speechless. Desiree dragged her bags down the hallway toward the front entrance. Juan was already there, waiting. He stepped forward instinctively to help her with the luggage. But they both knew this moment wasn't over yet. Desiree turned to Juan and whispered, "I have to be the one to tell him. It's not your place." Juan nodded. She turned to Alejandro, who stood at the edge of the hall, his eyes bouncing between her and his son. "There's something else," Desiree said. "Something important. I'm in love with Juan." The room froze. "What?" Alejandro's voice was hoarse. "I love him," she said, her voice trembling. "I didn't plan it. It just happened." His face turned red. He stepped forward, gripping her by the arms, not violently, but with a ferocity of disbelief. His voice dropped to a cold whisper. "Did you sleep with him?" Desiree met his eyes. "Yes." "How many times?" he demanded. "It happened once," she said. Alejandro turned sharply toward Juan. "You've been sleeping with the woman I loved?" Before Desiree could react, Alejandro's fist connected with Juan's face. Hard. Juan staggered back, but didn't raise a hand. Another punch came, and again Juan took it. Desiree rushed forward. "Stop! Alejandro, stop it!" But he was already pulling away, walking upstairs with fire in his eyes. Moments later, he returned, clutching his wallet, car keys, and a small overnight bag. "If I stay here another damn minute, I'll kill him," he growled, brushing past them both. And just like that, he was gone. Silence settled like smoke in the living room. Juan had blood at the corner of his mouth, but his eyes were only on Desiree. "Stay," he said. "He's gone, maybe for good." Desiree shook her head. "It's not that simple. You know it's not. Not yet." Juan nodded slowly, disappointed but understanding. "I'll take you to Anna's." They drove in silence. Once at Anastasia's, Juan helped her with her bags. Before she walked in, he looked at her, needing to say what was in his heart. "Can I move in with you? Be with you now? Not just when it's easy?" Desiree smiled through her sadness. "I can't wait to sleep and wake up next to you, Juan. But not now. It's too soon, especially after talking to your dad. Let's give it some time, baby." Juan cupped her face, kissed her gently. "I love you so much." She leaned into him. "I love you too." He held her for a moment, then opened the car door for her. As they drove off, the wind whispered through the windows, blowing away the past, ushering in something raw and real, something forbidden, but now finally true.
Chapter 15. A shadow in the distance. After the chaos of heartbreak and confrontation, peace finally seemed within reach. Juan had found a new place for Desiree, a cozy home nestled quietly on the outskirts of town, far away from Mr. Pablo's estate. She wanted space. She needed it. Not just physically, but emotionally. Distance gave her clarity, and privacy gave her peace. Juan accompanied her to view the property. It was perfect, surrounded by trees, a small garden in the back, a soft quietness that blanketed everything. He paid the lease up front and helped her move in. He lifted boxes, unpacked kitchenware, helped hang her favorite paintings on freshly painted walls. And though they didn't call it living together, Juan was there almost every night. Sometimes just for dinner, other times until morning, wrapped in her arms, dreaming of a life without secrets or shadows. But Desiree was still cautious. She told Juan she didn't want to rush things. "Let's build this slowly," she said. "I want this to last." Juan agreed. "Whatever pace you need, I'm here." Meanwhile, Chris had not faded quietly into her past. His messages became more frequent. The once charming texts now carried a desperate tone. When she stopped responding, he called over and over again. Finally, Desiree agreed to meet him in person. She didn't want confusion lingering between them. They met at a quiet restaurant. Chris sat across from her, eyes searching, jaw tight. "So, you just disappeared?" he asked. Desiree didn't flinch. "I'm sorry, but I need to be honest with you. I'm in love with someone else." Chris leaned back, stunned. "Who?" She took a deep breath. "Juan, the man you met that night. He's Alejandro's son. And yes, he's the one I love." Chris's voice turned cold. "So what was I? A placeholder? Something to numb your guilt while you made up your mind?" "No," she said gently. "You were kind to me. You helped me when I was confused. But I can't keep pretending. I don't want to lead you on." Chris's face hardened. "You don't understand what you're doing, Desiree. You'd better come back to me. Or else." He stood abruptly and left. Desiree sat there, heart pounding. His words chilled her, but she told herself he was just angry, just hurt. She never imagined it was more than that. In the weeks that followed, life seemed normal again. Juan was now fully involved in the businesses his father had left in Desiree's hands. Their love grew quietly, confidently. By Friday evenings, they would head together to her house. By Monday morning, they'd return to the office like a team in sync. Juan still stayed at Mr. Pablo's house during the week, but that was about to change. Desiree had asked him to move in, permanently. He said yes, without hesitation. They planned the move for the coming weekend, but someone else had been planning too. Chris. He hadn't stopped watching. He followed her. He memorized her routine. When she came and went, when Juan was around, and when she was alone. He was obsessed with having Desiree all to himself. What Desiree never knew, what she couldn't have known during their brief time together, was that Chris had a long history of untreated mental health issues. He had learned to hide them behind charm, good looks, and the smooth confidence of a man who seemed to have it all together. But those closest to individuals battling severe mental health conditions, especially those involving narcissistic or borderline traits, know how fragile that calm can be. Rejection, in particular, can become a devastating trigger. It's not just hurt pride. It's a shattering blow to their identity. They don't take no as an answer. They don't let go. And Chris, as handsome and princely as he seemed, was quietly unraveling inside. In his mind, Desiree didn't have a choice. There was no way he was going to let her go. No way. On a quiet Tuesday evening, Juan was finishing up some last tasks at home. As usual, he texted Desiree around 9 p.m. They always talked before bed. It had become their ritual. But tonight, there was no reply. At 9:30, he texted again. Still nothing. By 10 o'clock, he was worried. She usually was in bed by then, and always wanted to hear his voice before she fell asleep. He called. No answer. Then a text came. "Good night. I'm sleepy." But something about it didn't sit right. The tone felt cold. Off. He called again. No answer. The gut feeling in him screamed. He called Anastasia. "Have you heard from Desiree tonight?" "No," Anna replied. "I called her around 8 p.m., but she didn't pick up either. I thought maybe she was tired." Juan's voice tensed. Try calling her again. One more time. Ana did. No answer. That was enough. Ana, listen to me, Juan said, already grabbing his car keys. If you don't hear from me in the next hour, call the police. I'm going to her house. Something's not right. He jumped into his car, speeding into the night. On the way, he tried his father's number. No answer. He left a message. Dad, I'm heading to Desiree's. I think something's wrong. She's not answering her phone or texts. Please, if you hear from her, let me know. Wind roared through the cracked windows as he drove faster, heart pounding. A storm was rising, not in the sky, but in his chest. He couldn't shake the fear that he was too late, that something had already happened, that someone was with her. He didn't know what he'd find when he reached her house, but if anything had happened to her, he wouldn't forgive himself. He wouldn't stop until he made it right. Chapter 16. Blood and Silence. Juan's heart pounded like a war drum as he pulled into Desiree's driveway. Her car was parked as usual, but the unfamiliar wine-colored sedan chilled him to his core. Chris. The music inside was blasting, unnaturally loud. Desiree hated noise. This wasn't her. Grabbing the only tools he could find in his trunk, a wrench and screwdriver, Juan crept toward the door. Everything inside him screamed danger. He moved silently, like a man on the edge of war. Inside the house, Chris was unraveling. He'd already forced Desiree to make dinner. They had eaten. He had watched her shower. And now, he was playing the final act of his sick fantasy. The pistol sat on the nightstand. A knife hung from his waistband. He had no intention of letting her go. In his mind, if he couldn't have her, no one would. Chris pushed her toward the bedroom. Put something on, he hissed. Don't make me hurt you. Juan forced open the door quietly and slipped inside. The mess in the kitchen was the first red flag. Dishes piled, food left half-cooked. Not like Desiree at all. Then he heard her voice. No, Chris, please don't do this. He didn't wait. Juan kicked open the bedroom door. Desiree screamed. Her clothes were torn. Chris had her pinned against the bed, grinning like the lunatic he was. Desiree, get to the bathroom. Lock the door. Do not come out. She ran. Juan lunged. The two men clashed like bulls, fist to flesh, furniture crashing. Juan reached for the pistol on the table, but Chris pulled another from under the bed. 2 shots exploded. Juan staggered, but he didn't stop. With a desperate roar, he grabbed the gun from the table and fired 3 times. 1 to the head, 2 to the chest. Chris fell, motionless. Desiree sobbed from inside the bathroom. Baby, are you okay? Juan leaned against the wall, bleeding, gasping. I'm okay, baby. Stay inside. She knew he was lying. She burst out and screamed at the sight of him. 2 gunshot wounds, blood pooling beneath him. Juan! Moments later, Mr. Alejandro Pablo stormed through the front door with his revolver, having followed his son's voicemail straight to the chaos. He raced through the house, guided by the sound of Desiree's cries. He found his son slumped against the wall, barely breathing. Alejandro didn't think. He scooped Juan into his arms and rushed to the car. Desiree climbed into the back seat, cradling Juan's head on her lap, whispering, Stay with me, baby. Don't leave me. Please. Juan's pulse was faint. Alejandro drove faster than he had in his entire life. Back at the house, Ana and the police arrived too late. Chris was dead. The house was a crime scene. They followed the trail to the hospital. At the hospital, doctors raced to save Juan's life. He had lost a lot of blood and slipped into a coma. Desiree, trembling and emotionally shattered, collapsed shortly after. The trauma, the horror, the guilt, it was too much. She became unresponsive, silent, shocked. Mr. Pablo paced the corridor like a ghost. Ana arrived minutes later, pale and shaken. She rushed to Alejandro, who explained everything he knew. A police officer was already present with her, there to follow up with the case and investigate what had occurred at Desiree's house. He was hoping to speak with Alejandro, but Alejandro was not well. He could barely walk, occasionally clutching his chest in pain, the expression on his face betraying the sharp stabs racking his heart. Ana sat quietly beside him, both wrapped in shared sorrow, waiting in silence. The doctor soon returned with an update. "How is Juan?" Alejandro asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Is he out of the coma?" "No, Mr. Pablo," the doctor replied gently. "We're still doing our best to bring him back. We're trying everything." "And Desiree?" "She remains unresponsive. I'm so sorry. There's been no improvement with either of them." Ana began to cry quietly. Alejandro winced again as pain struck his chest. The doctor noticed. "Are you all right, Mr. Pablo? Do you want us to examine you?" Alejandro shook his head. "Number. I'll be fine. It's just stress. Please, focus on my son. I'll be here. Just keep us updated." Turning to Ana, Alejandro said, "I need to get my phone. I left it in the car when I rushed Juan in. Stay here in case the doctors need anything." He rose slowly, body aching, and leaned against the wall for support as he made his way down the corridor. In the parking lot, each step felt heavier than the last. His heart was pounding erratically, his breathing shallow. He whispered a prayer under his breath. "Please, God, don't take my son. Don't punish me through him. Spare him. Spare him." He was almost to the car when another wave of pain slammed through his chest, sharper, deeper. He gasped, unable to cry out, his vision swimming. He stumbled, fumbled for the handle, and collapsed into the driver's seat. His breath was ragged. His chest felt as if it were being crushed in a vice. His heart raced, then faltered, skipped beats. His hand clutched at his chest, desperate. A cold sweat broke out over his face. Then silence. His head dropped forward onto the steering wheel, his weight pressing the horn into a long, mournful blare. A passerby heard and rushed over, banging on the window, shouting for help. But it was too late. Alejandro Pablo was gone. Minutes later, Ana grew concerned. Alejandro had been gone too long. As she stood, she noticed the doctor approaching. "Doctor?" she asked. "Do you need to speak with Mr. Pablo? He just went to his car to get his phone. He should be right back." She glanced toward the hallway entrance, expecting to see him. The doctor's face was grim. "Ana, please sit down." Confused, she allowed him to guide her to a seat. "I'm sorry, Ana. Mr. Alejandro Pablo had a heart attack. He was found in his car. He didn't make it." Ana's world collapsed. No, that can't be. He just said he'd be back." She buried her face in the doctor's chest, sobbing uncontrollably. "And yes, Mr. Alejandro Pablo is gone, dead, just like that. He hadn't been sick, not in any real way. He was a man of strength, of pride, of passion. But life doesn't make exceptions. When death comes, it comes for all, rich or poor, young or old." Ana broke. "Yes, Mr. Alejandro Pablo is gone, but Juan still lies in a coma. Desiree remains silent, locked in trauma. Nothing is certain. Will Juan survive? Will Desiree awaken? And who will pick up the pieces of a love that tore a family apart?"
Season 2, Chapter 1, Teaser, A love unfinished. Mr. Alejandro Pablo was gone. No final words, no goodbye, just silence and the weight of death. Juan lay unconscious in the ICU, pale and fragile, machines breathing for him. Desiree, his soul's match, sat catatonic in the adjacent wing, alive but lost. Her gaze frozen, unfocused, like a ghost drifting inside a shell. She hadn't spoken. She hadn't blinked. No tears, no screams, only stillness. Her mind trapped in the darkest corner of trauma. Ana was the only one left. She hadn't left the hospital since the night everything fell apart. Alejandro's sudden death, Juan's shooting, Desiree's collapse. It had all descended like a nightmare she couldn't wake from. And now, the doctor approached again. His face was grim. "Anna," he said gently, "we did everything we could, but Juan didn't make it." The words shattered her. "No, don't say that!" she screamed. "Keep trying! He can't die! Not him! Not now! I can't lose them both!" Her knees buckled. "Please, Anthony," she whispered. "Please." Dr. Anthony, who had been by Anna's side through it all, held her as she collapsed into sobs. He had grown close to her, professionally, emotionally, watching her hold everyone together while crumbling inside. "I want to see him," Ana said through tears. He nodded, taking her to Juan's room. But elsewhere, something unexpected was happening. Juan's spirit stood beside his lifeless body, confused, watching the doctor and nurses give up, watching them call his time of death, watching them leave. "Hey!" Juan shouted. "I'm right here. I'm not gone." No one heard him. He chased after Dr. Anthony down the hallway, trying to reach him before he told Ana. Then he heard it. "He's gone." Anna's scream was like a blade, but what pierced Juan's soul the deepest was hearing Desiree's name. "She hasn't spoken," Anthony said softly. "She's completely unresponsive, almost like her soul's left her body too." Juan froze. "Desiree?" The hallway pulsed with a strange light. A doorway, a passage, was opening for him, but he resisted. "Number I can't go. Not yet. Not without seeing her." He followed Ana and Anthony back to his room. As Ana approached his lifeless form, crying, whispering his name, Juan did something desperate. He dove back into his body. "I need to see her. I need to see Desiree." Ana clutched his cold hand, then flinched. "He moved," she gasped. Anthony frowned. "Ana, no, he's been gone for over 5 minutes. I'm telling you he moved." Then they both saw it. A finger twitch. Subtle, but real. Anthony lunged for the machines. "We've got a pulse! Get the crash team back!" Chaos erupted. Juan was breathing. Faint, shallow, but he was back. Ana stumbled into the hallway, looked up, and whispered through tears, "Please, God, don't take him again." Juan's vitals fluttered, flatlined, spiked again. A battle for life, and finally, stabilization. He was alive, but barely. Later that day, Dr. Anthony made a suggestion to Ana. "What if we brought Desiree into the same room with Juan? Some couples, they respond to each other, even in silence." Ana nodded. "Do it." And so they did. Juan and Desiree were laid side by side, each barely breathing. Machines beeping, lights low. A sacred kind of quiet between them. And then, something shifted. A flicker in Juan's eyelid. A tear slipped from Desiree's eye. The miracle had begun. But the road ahead won't be easy. Enemies will rise. Old lovers will return. Secrets will surface. Rachel and Alexis, temptations from Juan's past, will fight for his attention. Benjamin, a charming stranger, will do everything to win Desiree's heart. And Ana will find unexpected love in the arms of Dr. Anthony. triangles will form, trust will be tested, and love will burn brighter than ever before. Juan will soon discover that his father's empire was built on lies and blood, drug money and hidden crimes. The Pablo name, once a legacy of wealth, is now a curse. As he heals, he will lose everything. And Desiree? She must decide if her love can survive when the man she wants is no longer the man she knew. This isn't just about passion anymore. It's about survival. It's about truth. It's about the kind of love that refuses to die. Season 2, Hearts on Fire, A Forbidden Desire. Coming soon. You do not want to miss it.
Whispers through the trees, a tender breeze carries secret pleas. Shadows dance on the velvet ground, in this moment where love is found. The stars above hum a quiet tune, hearts collide beneath the silver moon. A flame ignites, gentle yet so wild, two souls entwined, pure and beguiled. A touch that lingers, soft as a sigh, eyes locked, unspoken words that lie. Electric tension in the midnight air, a love so raw, beyond compare. Dissolves, it's just you and me, caught adrift in a boundless sea. Time stands still as we softly sway in the glow of our own ballet. The organ sighs a melancholic moan, every note whispers you're not alone. A harmony born of passion's embrace,